Which makes no sense because somehow the First Order has taken over the galaxy already. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's an undisclosed amount of time between the two movies, but it's pretty much agreed that I'm aware of that it's right after The Force Awakens ends. So that's only a couple of hours or maybe a day or two for the First Order to completely take over the entire galaxy when it took the Republic to bring more stable, I'm not saying complete, but more stable order for 30 years. It took them, yeah. Like I said, nothing in these movies make fucking sense. The Rebel base gets destroyed through a new dreadnought. And I actually like the dreadnought, the concept of it. But the problem is the rebels are escaping on a small fleet of ships. I think there's 4 or 5 of them. I don't remember. But as someone, a YouTube channel I watch called Mueller, or EFAP, Every Frame of Pause, has pointed out, why would you shoot a base, a static target, instead of shooting the fleet? Because it makes more sense to shoot the fleet. I agree with him on that, but the only defense I can think of is it's a fucking movie. But the problem is it looks like shit. Like, it's a shit idea. So, if you're going to have that, why not just, I don't know, shoot the fleet or a ship? Because if you shoot at least one of the ships, it does give the impression that you're not messing around and it's just one ship. Because by the end of the movie, all the ships are fucking destroyed and there's only 20 people left instead of the couple of hundred. Anywho, so base is destroyed. The fleet still needs time to get the rest of the ships from the base before it was destroyed onto the ships. So Poe makes a distraction. And I'm not kidding, within the first 2 to 5 minutes of the movie, Rian Johnson, he did this movie on his first draft. He's fully admitted this is on his first draft. He did not do any redrafts. He wrote and directed this fucking disaster of a movie by himself. And Kathleen Kennedy apparently sung his praises, and he has not apologized, nor does he admit that he wanted to do any rework. So I'm going to rip this movie apart because it is such a piece of shit. Not just as a Star Wars movie, but as a movie in general. Poe Dameron makes a distracts the First Order, which does not make sense that he alone was able to do it instead of the First Order going, okay, shoot him down or send out our TIE fighters to shoot him and to take out the rest of the fleet. No. Poe literally says, I want to talk to General Hux, and General Hux goes into this grandiose speech because, he made one in The Force Awakens. Therefore, he's going to make grandiose speeches in this one. And Poe goes, okay, just let him know I'm here. He's literally doing this third grade ignoring or messing with the First Order, and it's just like, it's ridiculous. It is so fucking ridiculous that a professional pilot would do that, and that a Empire wannabe would allow it. I'm pretty sure if the original Star Wars, if someone tried that, they would say fire when ready, instead of pandering to him. And someone pointed out that Poe at one point says General Hugs, Huggs. Yes, not Hux, Hugs. And the point I really wanted to leave the movie was after a British officer tells General Hux, "Sir, I believe he's tooling with you." And Poe immediately follows up with, this is a message from his mother." That is literally the point I wanted to walk out of that movie, was when he delivered a "yo mama" joke. I really wish I was fucking joking, but he delivers a fucking "yo mama" joke in Star Wars. That's like delivering a "yo mama" joke in Star Trek, which I wouldn't be surprised given what Star Trek has become these days from everyone that watches it. Because apparently they introduced swearing into it now, too, which is great. And I've never been a Star Trek fan, but I feel like Star Trek has been destroyed. After the successful diversion, Poe once again goes and destroys the turrets on the Dreadnought. I say once again because it's a beat for beat repeat of Force Awakens at that point. Then the worst designed ships in all of Star Wars shows up. Space bombers. Now, anyone would know in Clone Wars, they already have bombers. And Clone Wars is canon still at this point. It's still canon. Even in the new stuff, in the new canon, they have Y-Wings. They have Y-Wings in Return of the Jedi, I believe. Those are the bombers. Those are the space bombers that they use to bomb stuff. No, because Rian Johnson thinks he's being so creative, he makes new types of bombers based off of World War II bombers. And a lot of the space combat, he admitted, is based off of World War II combat, which is dumb. Now, I said before in the original trilogy that they used footage to mimic in the movie. The biggest difference is it was mimicking it. It wasn't going for a beat for beat recreation. Because these bombers in space go all of maybe 5 miles an hour if they go super slow in space. And Ryan explains that even if his explanation is lame, because they're bombers back in World War II weren't fast because we have friction and air resistance. We have air resistance. And bombers were heavy. We also have gravity. The concept of gravity does not go into space. The concept of air resistance does not go into space. And yet these bombers go 5 miles an hour, and all of them end up being destroyed by the end of the sequence. Because they're so slow, they all get destroyed by TIE fighters. One gets 3 bombers get taken out by one destroyed TIE fighter because there's no armor in them. The reason that World War II bombers were so light is because they didn't have much armor and they had to drop a very heavy payload. I mean, if it's correct, I mean, even in Pearl Harbor, the movie, they explain that they had to take off a lot of the plating and armor and all the access because the weight of the payloads were so great that they couldn't get off the ships in the Pacific safely. Again, that's if the movie is real, and I'm not saying it is, but that's more believable than what Rian Johnson wrote. Because weight does not matter in space. Wind resistance isn't in space. Gravity isn't in space unless you're extremely close to a planet, and they were far enough away from the planet that it wouldn't be affected. And these are the worst designed ships ever. Because one, they have actual bombs. Let me repeat that. They have actual bombs. And if you look at the design of the fighters, of the bombers, they are in a very exposed drop bay on the bomber. If you're going to have real bombs, you don't have to have it like a gun magazine where it sticks out 18 inches or 18 feet from the bomber. You can have it in the belly of the bomber. Like I said, this is the worst movie I've ever seen in so many ways, in designs and story writing and consistency. Just because Rian Johnson was told he could do whatever the hell he wanted, and he cares so much about twists and turns and subverting expectations of people, and he could have had his own series. I wouldn't be opposed to that, but you don't give someone like that, who's so cocky and headstrong, that nothing he does is ever going to be incorrect or wrong. You don't give him the middle movie of a trilogy, especially one as big as Star Wars. As I was saying, all but one of the bombers gets destroyed. The one that makes it over, the person who's supposed to drop the payload is dead somehow. So we go through a short journey with, I think her name is Paige Tico, if I remember correctly from all the reviews. And she's in very heavy makeup, everyone in these new movies are such heavy makeup. It's ridiculous. Like, you're in the middle of a civil war, fighting for your lives. We go, oh, I'm gonna put my makeup on before I go to battle with the First Order. So let me put my really bright red lipstick on. Paige Tico goes from the cockpit to the bomb bay, which again, I don't know how anyone is killed in her ship. Her ship isn't hit at all, but everyone's mysteriously dead. So she's got to make the bombs drop by hitting a button. But the one hit that she takes, she lands on a grating just above the drop door. Somehow breaks her back or injures herself where she can't do anything. And keep in mind, like I just said, she apparently landed on her back, possibly breaking it. The button to drop the bombs are a ladder above her, which is 18, 20 feet, like I said before. So with a broken back, she kicks the ladder that the button is on. With a broken back, she kicks. I think what you get what I'm trying to say is, then it falls and she can't catch it because it's too far. Now keep in mind, she's on her back, should be unable to move. We literally see the button drop past her. Literally a second later, she's perfectly flat on her stomach and grabs the button. Now, I want you to do a small experiment. Go to your bed or something and try doing that maneuver in less than a second, ending up in the exact same location you were. You can't. You either got to roll over, or you're doing a lot of movement that involves you moving your back, which, again, if you have a broken back, is going to be impossible. But yeah, she drops these bombs, which there's tons of arguments on how it drops in space. My only thought would be there was a propulsion system on the bomb, like on the clip. And according to the vehicle cutouts, guide, whatever it's called. It's literally called The Clip. And again, and according to the same book, these bombs are magnetically propelled, which I can kind of see, but at the same time, it's like if they're magnetized, what is preventing them from sticking to the ship, to the bomber that they're just dropped from, that is made out of metal that you now just magnetized? Nope, none of that is ever explained, but we get to see Paige Tico blow up in heroic fashion because she just saved the Resistance. Poe returns with what's left of his crew, because we gotta make sure we know that 80% of the ships that went out, including all the poorly designed and super slow bombers, are gone. And the Resistance gets away with destroying the First Order's dreadnought. Yay for the heroes, they won. We also got to be reminded that Poe is an idiot, that he made the wrong choices. So he gets demoted from fleet commander to captain. Now please keep this in mind. A captain in what would be considered a navy. That is pretty goddamn high ranking. Anyway, Finn wakes up from his coma because a slice in the back can be healed within a couple of hours. And of course he's concerned about Rey. That gives us the excuse to cut to Rey and Luke, and it's pretty much right back to her handing the lightsaber to Luke. Like, we have an actual recreation of her pulling the lightsaber out of her bag and handing it to Luke. Luke takes it, and in a moment of the beginning of utterly destroying Luke's character, not that they didn't in the first one, he literally looks at the lightsaber and throws it over his shoulder. I will repeat, he throws the lightsaber that was his father's and throws it over his shoulder like it's nothing. Now, Rian Johnson said he wanted to inject a little bit of Mighty Python within the movie. But that's not how you do it. You don't do it with a character like that. You do it with new characters, perhaps. New characters that we know nothing about. You can make them Mighty Python. You can make them the new Biggs and Reg, for all I care. But you don't do it with Luke fucking Skywalker. So Luke goes off. Rey picks up the lightsaber and follows Luke to an abandoned village, and Luke tells her to go away. Chewie blows open the door in spectacular fashion, not knowing where the fuck Luke is and could have possibly killed him. That's a small gripe, so I'll let that one by. After Rey is saying, "Well, we need help, we need you to come back," and Chewie's roaring, Luke suddenly realizes, hey, where's Han? This is a scene that pisses me and a lot of people off. Instead of showing us how Luke felt when he learns of Han's death, and he does a very good job. I would recommend looking up the deleted scene of him just realizing what happened when he wasn't there. It becomes a deleted scene. Therefore, Rian Johnson saying, hey, I don't give a shit about Luke and Han. We're going to go back to our new characters. With Poe being slapped in the face by Leia saying, you're demoted to captain. Again, keep in mind, that's a very high rank within the Navy, and I'm considering the Resistance fleet the Navy. And he gets chastised that you have to get an X-Wing and blow things up because that doesn't solve everything. And she's very upset with him because apparently he makes nothing but wrong choices throughout the entire movie, which I fully disagree with, especially given the way that characters present everything, which I will get to. And if I don't get into great details about it, I recommend looking up The Critical Drinker and Admiral Holdo, A Toxic Leader. He does a very good breakdown of not only another movie leader where they have similar situation, and then Haldo. I do recommend that. Anyway, within 2 minutes, the First Order shows up. They realize there's hyperspace tracking now, which I don't think there ever was before, and it sounds like a bullshit excuse just to have a chase scene. Oh, we'll get into that ridiculous bullshit later. Leia literally says within 2 minutes of her chastising Poe about blowing shit up to get in his X-Wing and blow shit up. I don't know if it was supposed to be a comedy moment or whatnot, but you don't do something like that. You don't develop a character by chastising them for something and then giving them permission to do the exact same thing you just chastise them for. That's shit writing. And like I said, it could have been played off as a joke, but it didn't come off as a joke. We see Kylo Ren using his TIE fighter, which I actually like the design of it. It looks like it's based off the video game series The Old Republic, the Sith transport, whatever it's called. It looks like it's based off of that, and I think that's a cool design. He's about to blow up Kylo blows up the hangar, preventing Poe from getting his fighter and fighting, and also takes out pretty much the entire X-Wing squadron, including the person I was making fun of about putting on really bright red lipstick on in the middle of a fucking war, which she reapplied before her death. Kylo's about to blow up the bridge. He stops because he senses Leia on there, and it gives us a hint that he cares more about his mom than he ever did about his dad. But the bridge gets blown up by some random TIE fighter person when he wasn't given permission to shoot, so that's insubordination right there. And the bridge blows up, killing everyone, including the more known Admiral Akbar. But Leia is also ejected, and we're pretty much made to believe that she's supposed to be dead. After the bridge blows up, Kylo Ren is ordered back to the the Supremacy, which is Snoke's flagship. Oh yeah, Snoke's we see Snoke in person. And his ship, the Supremacy, is huge. I think I heard there's like 5 million people on that ship, or something like that. I could be very wrong because I didn't look into it, and I don't remember. I can't ever remember crew numbers, but there's got to be millions, if not billions, of people on that ship just to keep that thing running. Then we cut to one of the most ridiculous scenes. Like everything in this movie is ridiculous in canon, non-canon. I would take any of the non-canon stuff over the shit we've seen in this movie, especially this scene. Especially when we were told by Rian Johnson himself, Leia had no Force training. She does not know the ways of the Force like Luke does, or even Rey does. She's just basically a person who has some Force sensitivity, but she's never trained in the Force. Well, she's in space, and they very clearly make it sure we know she's in space. She's frozen over. We know that because there's icicles all over her body. Yet, she's not dead. Everyone else is, not her. No, she literally opens her cataracts eyes and pulls herself back to the main ship that she just got blown out of. She Mary Poppins her way back into the ship, and the visuals in this entire movie, except for this scene, look amazing. This scene looks horrible. Like, how do you make everything else look good, but you make this particular scene, this moment that shows Leia's power in the Force, on instinct apparently, look like dog shit. So she's saved herself. She's now in a coma, which she should be in the grave. Not to be insensitive to Carrie Fisher's passing, but Leia, she isn't alive at this point. She would be dead. So instead of putting Poe, who's a captain, in charge, or even having Admiral Akbar survive, which would have made more sense because he was a established character, we are introduced to Vice Admiral Holdo, the single most worst character, and yes, I know that sounds so bad, the worst character in all of Star Wars. Jar Jar Binks would have made a better commander than her. And Jar Jar Binks, everyone, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but I would say maybe 80% of the fan base found annoying and hated. I'd rather take Jar Jar than Admiral Holdo. And before, let me get this out of the way. Admiral Holdo is female. I don't hate her because she is female. Could have been a male. I hate the writing that they did for Admiral Holdo. I hate the way they portrayed her. I hate the way they made her act. I hate everything in the real world about how they portrayed this character. I do not hate the actress. I do not hate that she is a female. It could have been Gene Hackman. It could have been Danny DeVito. I mean, it could have been any male character, and the way that they portrayed this person, I would have hated it. Because again, every frame of pause, a critical drinker, everyone has broken this character down better than I could have. Just on how terrible this person is. We are introduced to her out of nowhere. We don't know anything about her. Apparently not even Poe knows about her, because she's just thrown in there, and again, an established character like Admiral Akbar, like who we know helped lead the rebels to victory against the second Death Star and the Empire, would have been a better choice. Or hell, because they introduced his son in The Rise of Skywalker, like extremely briefly. Like they could have had, this is Admiral Akbar's son who was under Admiral Akbar's tutelage. And it was been like, oh, okay. But no, we get Admiral Holdo. Hey, what's her credentials? We don't know. Cool. But right off the bat, Poe asks, is there a plan or anything? Is there anything I can do to help? And Holdo berates him and says, you were demoted recently, right? Well, I know people like you. You're just a cocky flyboy. I hate people like you. I'm not going to tell you anything. And I was like, okay, so you don't want me to help? You're not going to say, oh, there's a plan, I just don't want to tell you. So, in this, Finn tries to escape. Gets stopped by Rose Tico, who is Paige Tico's sister. And I don't hate the actress, I hate the character. So, again, I don't hate the actress. I think the actress did a very good job portraying this character that she was given. I hate the character. But Rose was a pointless addition to this cast. Because even in Rise of Skywalker, she's litigated to maybe all of a minute of screen time because there's no point to her. Except to keep Finn in the capital ship that they're in. Rose is the one that says they have hyperspace tracking. Like she somehow knew that was a thing. So she and Finn come up with a plan. And with the help of Maz Kanata and the weirdest holo transmission that they ever do, because they have what looks like there's a union dispute going on where she's at. and I guess they have a droid following her with a camera, which is weird. That there's a code breaker that they can use to break into the Supremacy. So Finn and Rose decide to go to Canto Bight to go, while Poe stays on the capital ship to keep appraised of the situation. And you could have sent Poe with Finn and cut out Rose altogether, because the entire storyline of Canto Bight is pointless. This whole movie was pointless, to be honest. I mean, like I said before, they don't even go in a circle. They're not better off than they were before. They said this movie was supposed to be like The Empire Strikes Back, but the problem is, with The Empire Strikes Back, the tables weren't balanced. Like, it gave us hope that, like, The Empire Strikes Back, it was like revelations, like Vader being Luke's father. This one, there's no real revelations other than Rey might be the last Jedi at the end, which, again, I don't know why we care about Rey so much. This was nothing like Return of the Empire Strikes Back. This was his own movie, and like I said, you don't do this kind of format in a second movie of a trilogy. But anyway, Finn and Rose go to Canto Bight, which is a casino planet, which is supposed to be an allegory for the top 1%ers and how everyone here is pure evil. And how Finn, the child soldier, I repeat, the child soldier, Finn learns that slavery and encapturement and abuse of children is evil. The child soldier learns that slavery is evil because Rose and her sister grew up on a planet like Canto Bight. And because Finn is somehow enthralled with the Canto Bight and how it looks and everything about it, which would make no sense for a child soldier in the First Order who arguably has been to a lot of places. I mean, the whole plot of it was stupid. They didn't even get the codebreaker. They got someone else who very clearly is in for himself, who later betrays them because he makes a deal to save his own skin, which they should have realized when they were in jail with him. So, yeah, it's just, the whole point of Canto Bight was stupid. And people were saying, oh, well, this was Rian Johnson's stab at capitalism and making fun of Disney, and it doesn't come off as that. It literally just feels like he was trying to be edgy and cool and say, hey, I understand your guys' struggle. Or some bullshit like that. But, again, you could have taken that whole 7-minute segment out and nothing would have changed. Because there's no revelations. There's no change in Finn. Like, it literally is, you're telling a child soldier who was kidnapped from his family that slavery is evil and animal abuse is evil. I'm not even going to get into that shit, because anywho, Rey is being taught very reluctantly by Luke about the ways of the Force and how the Jedi failed the Republic by letting Darth Sidious rise to power. But we also learn that, in someone who's never watched Star Wars, because it's clear Rian Johnson's never watched Star Wars, that Luke tried to kill Ben Solo because he had a bad dream. I will repeat, Luke Skywalker, who believed in his father, who was a mass murderer, killed countless people on countless systems, killed pretty much single-handedly, wiped out the entire Jedi Order. He tries to kill his nephew because his nephew had a bad dream about the dark side. In his fucking sleep. Luke Skywalker would not do that. I don't think anyone in the Jedi Order would have done that. Not even Mace Windu, who was the closest to the dark side because of his combat style. He wouldn't do that. But goddamn, Ben Skywalker, Ben Solo has a bad dream about the dark side. I must execute him. And the 3 times we see this scene, because we have to see the flashback 3 times, we later learn that Luke withdrew or realized that that was a bad idea, but it was too late. And Ben pulls out his lightsaber, and Luke, like, literally, instead of just stopping, turning his lightsaber off and saying, "I'm sorry, will you forgive me?" he goes in for another strike. Rian Johnson didn't see Star Wars as a child, obviously, because this shit Luke wouldn't do. Not even in the now old canon would he do that. He would do it if it was an emergency, if, like, when Jason did turn to the dark side, he attempted to do it, but that was later in his life, not when he was in his fucking sleep. This whole movie is just, it's bullshit. Luke tries to explain to Rey that the Force shouldn't be limited to the Jedi. It belongs to everyone. Therefore, I want the Jedi to end, because the Force doesn't belong to just the Jedi or just the Sith. And that the Jedi were the reason that evil rose to power. Well, I can agree that the Jedi were arrogant and blind to the possibility of Sidious rising to power. That doesn't mean that they were the reason he rose to power. He rose to power because he rose to power, and he was able to trick everyone. That's called manipulation. And manipulation can happen to even Jedi. But on this planet, or on this island, there's another cave that is dark side influenced, just like on Dagobah with Yoda. And Rey goes there and discovers an amazing epiphany that she doesn't know who her parents are. I'll come back to that later, because I totally skipped over that in The Force Awakens. Yeah. Yep. Oh, I also forgot to mention that Kylo and Rey have telepathic Zoom calls now. Somehow. I don't even think that this was a Force power in the canon, old canon stuff. This is literally an asshat pool that Rian Johnson decided to make a thing. So they somehow can see each other. I don't know how that works. They kind of explain it in Rise of Skywalker, but I'll get to that shit later. They can kind of see each other, but they can't see their surroundings very clearly. So Kylo's trying to use Rey to find out where she is to kill Luke. But they seem to be getting more intimate. That's another thing I'm going to get into, because that relationship, that's bullshit. That wasn't earned or developed very well at all. And yes, Rey and Kylo, or Reylo as people would like to call it, is actually a fucking thing. That'd be like if Han was an agent of the Emperor trying to kill Leia. Oh no, even Boba Fett. Even if it would be like Leia hitting on, or Boba Fett hitting on Leia, and then Leia ended up with him later on. It's like that. It makes zero sense. Why would you Why would you fall in love with someone who's trying to fucking constantly kill you, or torture you, or generally apparently doesn't give a shit about you? No, wait, that happens in real life anyway. Never mind. It's just as creepy. So yeah, after Rey discovers her parents and she doesn't have any parents, they almost touch fingers via the telepathic Zoom call. Ooh, kinky. Luke interrupts the Zoom call and tells Rey to leave. She proceeds to beat the shit out of him for no reason. Like, literally, he's walking away. She smashes her staff onto his back and head for no reason. They fight, and then she whips out her the lightsaber, and Luke stops because obviously a lightsaber is he's not gonna be able to stop a lightsaber. There's also the point where we show he reconnects with the Force. He warns her that it's not going to that no matter what she does, it's not going to turn out how she wants it to. Despite the fact that everything else turns out the way she wants to, because goddamn, if she isn't perfect, this isn't the right series. The series isn't working. She chastises him and storms off and goes to surrender herself to Kylo and Snoke. Same time that happens, Finn, Rose, and the Codebreaker all go to the Supremacy. Like, literally, the exact same time that Rey surrenders, the other characters arrive at the Supremacy, which has been chasing the Resistance fleet. And I'll just say this. Rian Johnson at this point is using Rebels and Resistance as the same terms, as if it's earned that the Resistance is going to be called the Rebellion from the OT, which they haven't earned. Anyway, so after they discover the hyperspace tracker, the reason Finn and Rose go to get the Codebreakers, they go to the Supremacy to shut that shit down, to give enough time for the Resistance fleet to escape into hyperspace, leaving Rose and Finn stranded on the Supremacy, because I guess they didn't think of that. But knowing this movie, they would have made some miraculous escape. Like, they would have teleported right back onto the Resistance ships right before hyperspace. So the reason, another reason that this chase doesn't make sense is suddenly fuel for the Resistance becomes an issue. It's never been an issue until now. They made mentions of it in Star Wars: A Solo Story. I'm going to rip that one apart too. But never before has fuel been an issue. And suddenly it is. So another ridiculous thing about this movie is that it's supposed to take place over 16 hours, because that's how much fuel they have. So the fact that all this somehow takes place within 16 hours of each other makes zero sense, because the planet Luke is on, there's at least 2 to 3 days that pass. So unless that day cycle is, what, 2 to 4 hours long, that already blows up the timetable. Even if the planet has the same time cycle as ours, 16 hours is not enough time for how much has passed within that world, because there's 2 days and 2 nights that pass. So that's at least 48 hours. You see how long I'm going. I'm almost at 2 hours on this fucking rant, and I'm still only on The Last Jedi. I might break this into 3 parts. But, yeah, so tactically for the First Order, they could have, because they have the superior firepower, and the more ships, they could have literally sent some Star Destroyers ahead of the Resistance and done that. But because everything's got to be based off World War II fighting now, they are in a naval style battle. And what I mean by naval is literally everything is naval. The ships are pretty much all on the same plane. Like horizontally, they line up with each other almost perfectly. There's some Star Destroyers that are above and below the Supremacy, but basically the Supremacy is the main, is on the water, and that's the main ship that the others are escorting. Where the Resistance ships are on that exact same plane. The laser cannons, or turbo laser cannons, are now shooting at arcs at the Resistance ships. The space lasers, with no resistance, with no gravity, as I discussed before, are now shooting in arcs instead of straight lines as they've done with every other space battle. This is the only one that they're shooting arcs in, like they're shooting shells from an actual ship on a planet. But I think even fighters are shown to be shooting in straight lines, not arcs. So, the Resistance ships are also faster than the ships. Yeah, the Resistance ships are moving faster than every single First Order ships because they're smaller, therefore they're faster. And if that was the case, the bombers would have been super fast from the very beginning of the movie. That doesn't make sense in the terms of being in space, where there's, again, no air resistance and no gravity pulling down. He's pulling this because speedboats are faster than cruise liners. Let's go with that. The problem with that theory in space is that the Supremacy, the much larger ship, yes, but it has bigger engines and more engines, and they don't have to worry about fuel. So they can literally ram the other ships if they wanted to. And voila, the war is over. Hell, even the Star Destroyers should be faster than the Resistance fleet. But despite the fact that the Supremacy has more engines, more powerful engines, and superior firepower, that they don't need to shoot at an arc, somehow the Resistance fighters, or the Resistance ships, are much faster, therefore they can't destroy them or catch up to them. I mean, General Hux literally says, what's the point of all this firepower and all this technology if we can't destroy a simple ship? And some officer says, sir, they're smaller and lighter than us, therefore they're faster. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. As Finn and Rose and the Codebreaker are making their way to the hyperdrive tracker device bullshit thing, which they get spotted, and they get captured, and then the Codebreaker literally sells them out for credits, and yeah. And this is all because he overhears a conversation that wasn't made in private with Finn and Poe, where Poe literally gives the plan to Finn. Now, a lot of people will say, well, it's Poe's fault. It's Poe's fault that the Codebreaker knew the plan. No, Finn never said, "Hey, dude, this is a private conversation. Can you leave?" They literally had the conversation on a speakerphone. So if a officer or if your lawyer is giving you sensitive or confidential information, you have your phone out in the middle of, say, McDonald's or something, and someone uses that information against you, that's your fault, not the lawyer's fault. But everyone loves blaming Poe for everything. So the plan is for them to use escape pods that are cloaked. But the problem is, Poe is still desperately trying to find out if there's a plan, because we only find out the plan after it's about to be initiated. And Holdo keeps berating him, keeps yelling at him, and he snaps, and he literally says, "Please tell us that there's a plan." Like, very simply, say there's a goddamn plan. Tell us what's going on. You don't have to go to details or anything, but just say, is there a plan? "Oh yes, Poe, there's a plan that we're following. I'm not telling you because XYZ reason." No, when he asks, is there a plan, she literally goes, "Hope is like the sun. If it's only there when you can see it, then there's no point in hope." It's like, that doesn't fucking answer the goddamn question. Who wrote this fucking character? Like, this is a terrible character. Male, female, alien, whatever. Like, it's not an answer. But no, Poe's the one who's always in the wrong in this entire movie, because Rian Johnson said he was wrong. So, yeah. There is a plan, and she doesn't share it. And defenders of the movie, and there's a lot of them. I'm not going to degrade them because they like the movie, and I'm sure there's movies that they hate and break down that I like. But the problem is, I can admit when I am watching bad movies, like The Expendables 2. Let's go with it's it's like pure 80s, early 90s movie. Storyline sucks, but the action's amazing, and it's a good movie. It's a exciting movie, but it's also a shit movie. I can admit that, but it seems like a lot of the defenders of The Last Jedi cannot or will not admit or see that there's a lot of wrong with the movie. One of the excuses that the defenders will use is, well, Holdo thought there was a spy in the Resistance, or that she thought that Poe was a spy within the Resistance. Let that sink in. The guy who destroyed the Starkiller base very clearly hates the First Order is a spy. That is one of the excuses that they use. Now, there being a spy within all the Resistance is entirely a possibility, yes, but it's never explored, and it's never brought up. She never says, well, Poe, I believe there's a spy within our midst. I'm not going to tell anyone what the plan is. She literally says, hope is like the sun. If it's only there when you see it, then what's the point? You could have said there is a plan. I'm not telling you the plan because X, Y, Z reason. But no, she's got to berate and belittle Poe for asking if there's a plan, and he was demoted to a captain. Now, I say keep that rank in mind earlier, because captains within the Navy is an extremely high rank. It may not be admiral high, but a captain still commands ships, or at least a ship. That's a pretty high rank. And so in the comparison I'm making here is, if she's an admiral and he's a captain, the captain still needs to know that there's a plan. They may not I don't know if they have to disclose all the details of the plan until they're ready to initiate it, but the Admiral needs to let the staff that's under their command, male or female, needs to tell their people who are under their command that there is a plan and that it will be initiated at whatever time it needs to be initiated at, not just silence or duration. You can see why this movie sucks. As the ships are being fueled and ready to go, Rey is being very painfully interrogated by Snoke. Now I say very painfully because it's very clear that Snoke is extremely powerful in the Force. Not only because he was able to shoot Force lightning from his hand earlier in the movie and send Kylo Ren flying backwards, but Rey tries to attack him with a lightsaber. He pulls the lightsaber out of her hand with ease, spin it around and smack her in the head with it and put it on his throne, which I thought was hilarious that he did that, by the way. I found that pretty funny. So she's being interrogated. He finds out the location of Luke and says, I'll give him the death that he always wanted. And then turns Rey to Kylo and says to Kylo, kill her and your training will be complete. Now let's keep in mind, earlier in the movie, when Snoke Force Lightninged Kylo, he berated Kylo. There's a theme of berating characters in this movie from people in charge. Yay. But now he's like, kill her, my apprentice. You are my only apprentice. You're the son of my life, and kind of blah blah blah, just praising him now. And Kylo secretly turns Luke's lightsaber to Snoke, and as Snoke is reading his mind, dictating to us what's going on, Snoke literally goes, and now he strikes down his true enemy. And Kylo turns on the lightsaber, cutting Snoke in half. Let that sink in, please. They just killed off the equivalent of the Emperor, the major villain of the series, in the second movie. And we still have like 40 minutes to go. Now, this would have been more impactful if they did it at the end of the movie where Snoke says your training is complete, you're now a Sith, or something like that. And then in Sith tradition, Ben says, thank you, my master, and cuts him down. Like they did that in one of the trailers for The Old Republic, where Darth Magnus cuts down his master after they got back to Korriban, the original and only home world of the Sith people, or the Sith Order, where the master goes, we did it. We made it home. And Magnus goes, yes. Activates his lightsaber and goes, welcome home, and slices and cuts him down. That would have been cooler and a little more more, oh my god, he did it, than what we got. What we got was meant for laughs. And the lightsaber goes into Rey's hand, and they give each other lovey-dovey eyes, and now they gotta fight the guards. The worst guards in the entire series. I recommend going to Shadiversity to watch this fight broken down, because that would be another hour for me to do, and I would be basing everything I say off of him. But at one point, Rey is not in a very good chokehold by one of the guards who has two knives. Her sword arm is completely free. I don't know why. But at one point, they are kneeling down or squatting down or something like that. I forget exactly the pose, and I'm refusing to go back to watch it. But when you first watch the scene, it looks very good. It looks very entertaining. But when you watch it again, it's like, oh, this is actually pretty bad. Especially when it's broken down by combat experts or those who have more knowledge in combat. But they squat down, and keep in mind, this guy has 2 knives. One of them is completely free because the arm's not doing anything. When they come back up from the squat into a standing position, the knife is literally gone. I'm not joking. I missed it the first time too. But the knife literally is edited out because everyone would be going stabber, 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 stabber! Sorry. Because you have, I mean, that would be a logical thing. You have 2 knives and one of them is free and you're now holding her. Anywho, but yeah, go check out Shadiversity. I'll try to remember to link it in my description to watch the breakdown of this fight. And like I said, it's bad. The choreography in this entire movie was bad. And like I said, the actors put their heart and souls into it, so I don't blame the actors. After the fight, Rey tries once again to convince Kylo to come back to the Resistance, to join the light, and Kylo's like, no, let's forget the Resistance, the First Order, the Jedi, the Sith, let it all burn. Or what's the line? Forget the past, kill it if you have to. The problem is, he wants her to join him to rule the galaxy as the Sith, basically. Like, basically he contradicts himself. He says, forget the past, forget the Jedi, forget the Sith, but let's rule the galaxy as Sith. And she refuses, and she's getting all teary-eyed because her love won't come back to her. So then they fight over the lightsaber, both using force pull to bring the lightsaber to each other, and lightsaber is torn in half. Kylo gets knocked out, Rey doesn't, because she literally disappears in the next scene, taking Supreme Leader Snoke's personal escape craft, which apparently had no codes or anything like that. As I haven't mentioned before or shown, it's just he has a craft there. Also, pretty much at the exact same moment when the Codebreaker betrays Finn and Rose and they're about to be executed, the escape shuttles for the Resistance is being launched because Leia wakes up after Poe causes a rightful mutiny, and yes, very rightful mutiny, because they aren't given any information other than get into the escape shuttles. Trust me, I have a plan, but I'm not going to tell you what the fucking plan is. And granted, this is probably the only time Poe put the Resistance in danger, but again, he's running off of information he knows, and he knows that what they're doing is going to get them killed, because he isn't getting any information or even told that there's a goddamn plan. He causes a mutiny, and Leia wakes up to knock him out, and everyone's on transport ships except Admiral Holdo, because Admiral Holdo's going to make a self-sacrifice, because she's clearly earned the self-sacrifice bullshit. And so with her sacrifice, it starts out supposed to be simple. She's just going to stay in the ship while the cloaked ships make their escape. Standard stuff, I guess, but I don't know why they couldn't use a droid other than get rid of this useless character in the first place. But because the Codebreaker sells them out, the First Order sees the rebel escape pods and starts shooting them. And of course now this is where everyone goes, oh well, Poe told them, Poe told them, Poe told them. Poe still didn't tell them jack shit. It's Finn's fault still. Um, so Haldo gets this brilliant idea to turn her ship around and just doing like a hip shot, turns her ship into, puts her ship into hyperspace and crashes into the Supremacy. Now, this is a visually very cool shot. Again, I think it is a visually cool shot. But in terms of what hyperspace is, doesn't make sense. Plus, with as small as a target as that was, it would have more than likely missed, and she would never know. So, she crashes into Supremacy, almost killing Finn and Rose, by the way, because they were pretty close to where she hit. The Resistance makes their way to the planet they were going to go to. Again, that's somehow the First Order that nobody saw until they were on the escape pods. Rey gets picked up by the Millennium Falcon off screen. Finn and Rose now have to fight a resurrected Captain Phasma, and this is a fun little thing. They explained how she got off the Starkiller base in the first one via comic. She walked through a garbage disposal. Because, that's really exciting, really needed. Because Captain Phasma was such a important character to this entire franchise. If we didn't have Captain Phasma in this one, we would be lost. We'd be ruined. But they have to fight a resurrected Captain... Sorry, let me rephrase. Finn needs to fight a resurrected Captain Phasma because they have such great history together on the screen. So, they fight. BB-8 takes over a AT-ST, a R-Train scout transport, if you weren't aware. Somehow he gets in there, takes control of it, and when he does, the top of the AT-ST, the entire cockpit comes off, and he's still able to control it, which, I mean, let's be fair, this is a shit version of Star Wars, so it makes perfect sense. Rose attempts to kill Phasma after we think... the movie makes us think that Finn got killed. This is where we learn the armor is blaster-proof because Phasma isn't affected by the blasters. Finn makes his heroic comeback by an elevator, cheap shots Phasma, and she looks up to him and literally says, "You were always scum." Which is weird because in the book that isn't mentioned in the movies at all. She was singing in his praises, saying, "Oh, you're the best one I have ever trained." So after she says, "You're scum," he literally goes, "Rebel scum." You're not a rebel. You're barely part of the Resistance because your whole concern is you yelling Rey every 5 fucking minutes. Anywho, Finn and Rose with BB-8 get off the Supremacy. Because, they're so integral to the franchise as well. They make their way to the planet that no one saw called Crate, which is supposed to be like Hoth because it's covered with white stuff. There happens to be an old rebel base there, somehow, for some reason. There's a giant-ass door that is built into the mountainside, but whatever. So this is where some more bullshit comes up. When the First Order starts making their way with a miniature Death Star battering ram, aka a laser cannon. I don't know why they say it's a battering ram with Death Star technology, when they could have just said it's a laser that will blow the doors open. Voila. Oh, sorry. It will blast the doors open like an egg. I don't think that expression's ever been used before, but there's never been a Yo Mama joke in there either. Anyway. Poe asked C-3PO if there's any other way out of the cave system. And keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. C-3PO says, no, there's no other way in or out of this cave system except the front door. Keep that in mind. So, Poe comes up with a crap plan to use crappy fighters for whatever, speeders, whatever they're called, to take down the laser cannon. And there's a trench there that they reenact the scene of Hoth. And I really wish I was kidding. They were pretty much trying to recreate Hoth again. Because they have AT-ATs. Except these are new and improved AT-ATs. And I think I remember seeing somewhere they're called gorilla walkers now. Because apparently they look like gorillas. And I personally like the designs. They're bigger, they have more cannons, but they're just impractical. The speeders that the Resistant members are using don't have tow cables, but they apparently have small laser cannons, if I was looking at them right, but they never use the laser cannons in any way, shape, or form. Not even to shoot, like mockingly shoot, I guess would be the term. The First Order ships, or walkers, they just are there. Just for the hell of it. TIE fighters are there, which is probably the best advantage that the First Order has and decides to use. But of course, as they're about to take out one of the main characters, Rey shows up in the Millennium Falcon, saves the main character by shooting 3 TIE fighters out of the sky. Shoots 3 TIE fighters in a straight line out of the sky. And it's just a pot shot. Yeah. No, she's perfect at everything she does. She never makes any mistakes. She's perfect. And Kylo Ren, being the moron that he is, literally sends every single TIE fighter after the Millennium Falcon. You send your one advantage away because you don't like the Millennium Falcon. Yep. And of course, all the TIE fighters get destroyed by her and Chewie afterwards. Because why not? I mean, again, she's perfect in every way. Poe realizes that the death charge they're doing is going to be useless. Therefore, he's learned his lesson and calls everyone back. But now it's Finn's turn to be selfish. And he's the only one actually thinking, because if you destroy the cannon, you save the Resistance, or what's left of the Resistance. Well, this is probably the only time Poe makes a fatal error, saying we need to stop this charge because we're all dying. It only takes one ship to destroy this thing. And I'm going to point out that every walker in this entire line that has not been damaged or destroyed at all stopped shooting. Like, literally, they stopped shooting the speeders. So there shouldn't have been an issue after a certain point. Because if it was the Empire, they would still shoot retreating speeders. But nope, the single speeder that's coming towards your battering ram laser cannon thing, you're not going to shoot it. Therefore, you're going to let it keep going and going and going. And literally, Finn almost makes it to the cannon to destroy it to save the Resistance. But Rose, killing them both, I might add, they should be dead. She crashes her speeder into his and says, we're not going to destroy what we hate with hate. We're going to save what we love. So basically, she loves Finn. So she's going to save him and let everyone else die instead of letting him make a sacrifice that will save more people. So yeah, I mean, the line itself makes no sense. But the sacrifice as well makes no sense. Plus, she pretty much sexually assaults him by giving him a kiss on the lips that he didn't ask for or want. So, add that to the list of shit Rian Johnson gets wrong. Again, none of the walkers are shooting at them. Luke makes an appearance because, you know, he changed his mind because of Rey. Luke makes an appearance, gives Leia a charm, apparently that belonged to Han, that never appeared before. Do they really make a big deal about this charm? Like, literally, I don't remember seeing it ever in any of the original episodes, original movies. And they really focus on it. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I was just thinking maybe it's something connected to Han. And I was right because of Solo. Yay! She also gives a speech saying, I know Ben's gone. There's no way to save him or anything like that. Like, very plainly, very distanced. But in a deleted scene, I don't know why Rian Johnson deletes these really good emotional scenes. She's upset. She's broken down that there's no way to bring Ben back from Kylo. And it's the deleted scene. She's like almost on the verge of tears, which is great acting, but no, Wingen said very monotone. There's no way to save him. We can't bring him back. He's gone. And then Luke says no one's ever truly gone. And walks off to face the First Order. Now, remember when I said to keep in mind that C-3PO said there was no way in or out of the caves? Well, earlier there was crystal wolves that apparently the design was ripped off from a different artist on DeviantArt, and that's I don't know how true that is, so I'll just leave it there. But these crystal wolves made their home in the caves. I guess they lived in peace with the rebels at the time, but now they're gone. And Poe even says, wait, listen. Silence. Where are the wolves? And then literally 3PO says, oh, well, there might be another way out of these caves. He said there was no other way in or out of the caves. So, great writing, Ryan. You contradicted yourself yet again. Congratulations. You're a worse writer than I am. And I'm not a writer. I make shitty fantasy stories. Anywho, as the Resistance members are making their way to the back of the caves where the crystal wolves ran through, because there was a second way out of the caves, Luke gets bombarded by the AT-ATs. Then it's shown that he wasn't even affected. He does a little shoulder dust on the shoulder brush off. I really wish that was... I actually thought it was a kind of cool that he did that. It's silly, but I think it was cool. Like, you can't touch this kind of thing. Kylo makes his way down after making General Hux his bitch again. I don't know why they're so obsessed with making this formerly intimidating an interesting character into a punching bag for everyone, because in the beginning of the movie, when the Resistance got away, Supreme Leader Snoke literally used the Force to face slam him into the ground. It was played off as a joke. That was the only time I laughed. I thought it was insulting, but I laughed. And now he's a punching bag for Kylo Ren, who's now the new Supreme Leader. Which I thought it would have been better to make Hux the Supreme Leader. But what do I know, right? So, Kylo goes toe-to-toe with Luke. Except the fact that Luke is evading everything. He's not even reaching Kylo. Like, he's not striking Kylo. And he apologizes to Kylo. And Kylo's pretty much like, screw you, I don't care, I hate you. And I'm going to kill all the Jedi. After I kill you, I killed all the Jedi. And Luke goes, everything you said in that sentence is wrong. I won't be the last Jedi. And it literally cuts to Rey lifting, 50 to 100 boulders out of the way for the Resistance members to escape. Like, it's nothing. Where we have Yoda, who literally trained his entire life to use the Force, is a Jedi Master. He has a hard time lifting a X-Wing out of a 5-foot swamp. Everything just is so easy for Rey, just because she's perfect in every way, shape, and form. Like, make her struggle. Like, make it look like she's breaking a sweat or something. Do anything except make her perfect in every way. But, yeah, Resistance gets away. Rey is now officially a Jedi because Luke said she was. And we learn Luke was using a holographic or Force projection, which is a decanonized Force ability. And the only reason that we know what it is because Rian Johnson literally uses a non-canonical book to support his claim. If you want to look at the book, it's the Jedi Code. It's blue with the old Jedi logo on it. It should be really easy to find. And it goes over the old canon stuff, since the new canon stuff is not complete in any way, shape, or form. But, yeah, so because Rian Johnson used it in the movie, it's now a canonical ability. So, because Luke is using this Force ability after being, quote-unquote, sober from the Force for the last 20, 30 years, it drains him, obviously, but the problem is it drains him so much he literally dies. He dies from coming back to the Force. And he dies facing the twin suns like Tatooine. And Rian Johnson literally said he wanted to have Luke die in front of the twin suns like that. But again, you're still killing off a legacy character that everyone loves in favor of these new characters that no one likes. So anyway, remember in the beginning of this where I said there was like 20 people? Yeah, it's like 20 Resistance members all crammed onto the Millennium Falcon now. And the movie ends with slave kids from Canto Bight recounting a story that they definitely should not know because they're slaves on a Canto Bight far away from where it happened, and unless the First Order told everyone. But why would they say that Kylo Ren couldn't capture the Resistance members? They would have said, we captured and killed all the Resistance members, and Kylo Ren killed the last of the Jedi, therefore you have no hope. Not only that, one of the kids Force pulls a broom to him, and I missed this the first time. The second time I saw it, I was like, bullshit. Now, a kid could probably discover he has these powers by accident, but now it's just like, oh, cool. I don't have a problem with people saying everyone can have the Force. I mean, pretty much anyone could have the Force, but it's not something you're going to want to use out in the middle of a public space, knowing that you have Jedi hunters out there wanting anyone with the Force to train in the dark side. So, I mean, that made zero sense. And it should have just ended with the Resistance members on the Millennium Falcon, not this random kid that no one knows or cares about. So, as of this recording, I am now at 2 hours and 40 minutes. I'm probably going to split this into 3 different parts and release them all on the same day. If you can't tell how much I'm truly enjoying this, stay tuned for The Rise of Skywalker, which is worse than The Last Jedi. God, these Disney movies suck. Because you can't just slap the name Star Wars on something and expect it to be good and entertaining and everyone's going to love them just because it says Star Wars on it. It doesn't work that way. But what do I know, right? I'm just a fan of Star Wars. I'm supposed to love it no matter what. But like I said, The Last Jedi has been broken down by so many people who do this much better than I do. I have used points that they've pointed out in this analysis as well, but a lot of it has been my own opinion. It's just, this movie sucks. It makes no sense. It contradicts itself on almost every possible turn. Because, if you remember, I told you, Admiral Holdo berates and says, "I don't like people like you. You're just cocky little bastards." As he's being carted off while being unconscious, she literally says to Leia, "I like him." If you liked him, why didn't you tell him that there was a plan? Why did you berate him in front of everyone? Why didn't... Luke, the paragon of good in Star Wars, tries to kill his nephew because he has a bad dream, and then he wants the Jedi to end because he sees the errors in their ways, aka he sees the error in his way. And if he wants the Jedi to end, why does he just go to a remote planet and hide instead of, I know as dark as it sounds, instead of just offing himself? Like, I'm not advocating suicide in any way, shape, or form. If you are having thoughts of suicide, I would highly recommend you talk to someone about it, because that is not a subject to joke about. But, again, he goes to a remote island and keeps saying he wants the Jedi to end. He wants the Jedi to end. I mean, if you want the Jedi to end, you wouldn't have let pieces of a map around. You wouldn't have given a way for someone to find you. You wouldn't just be like doing what you're doing. You would end the Jedi. Instead, you keep the text around. You go to the first Jedi temple. And, I mean... But another problem is that Rian Johnson said he wasn't given a mapped layout of what to do for the movies. Now, even if that was the case, J.J. Abrams and Daisy Ridley, who played Rey, said there were notes that he had for ideas to take the trilogy. He didn't take the notes at all. Literally, it's pretty much stated and agreed upon that he did his own story because he was given permission to do whatever he wanted to do. And he pretty much did what he wanted to do, which was ruin Star Wars. I mean, again, there are people who defend this movie, they love this movie, and I'm not faulting them in any way, shape, or form. But the problem is, This isn't a Star Wars movie. This is hardly a movie with the amount of contradictions, the way the characters are portrayed and written. I mean, Holdo was a terrible character. Even Leia, in my opinion, was written poorly. Luke was destroyed in this. Again, it doesn't make any of this any sense for his actions. If he wanted to end the Jedi, he could have ended the Jedi instead of leaving a map to him, which, again, shows that Rian Johnson didn't take any notes or watch any Star Wars, including The Force Awakens, before he wrote his shit story. Like, again, you're going to end a Jedi, you're not going to leave breadcrumbs to find you. You're just going to end it. Kylo Ren is inconsistent with his goals of becoming the best Sith or stronger, more determined for what he wants to be. Then says he wants to change everything, and then he wants everything to go back to the way it was. The Reylo ship is absolutely disgusting in my opinion, because again, it's abused going to abuser, which I understand happens in real life. Problem is, it's still disgusting. It's not anything that should be celebrated or wished for. Yeah, so this movie is just dog shit. And I still gotta go over The Rise of Skywalker.